Hello there, yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm coming to you from my happy place, the Yarn Corner here on the west coast of Canada. How are you all doing? I hope you're well and staying safe. On this grey Tuesday, it is September 30th, 2025. In saying that, I know that I'm not going to be releasing this video in September. It's going to be pushed somewhere to the end of the first week in October. And that's because I've got a few scheduled videos coming out and I don't want to bank them up one day after the next sort of thing. I want to stretch it out the love and so you don't get sick of me. So here I am going to be catching you up on it's almost like an update video where we'll be talking about finished projects, generally called FOs, or works in progress, which are WIPs. And I'll be adding a small portion at the tail end of this video where I'll catch you up of what's been going on in the community here. I've got an exciting story about a visit from a very like supportive, encouraging person on the YouTube streets who watches many of our channels. And I'll tell you all about that when I come to talk about the community. I've got some interesting shows that I've been watching, and I know that you've been referring some of your interesting shows over the past few videos that I've dropped. I've posed that question, and I want to say thank you for giving me some suggestions, and I have watched a few of them. So yeah, if you're happening across this channel for the very first time, I want to welcome you. I set the channel up to talk about all of my yarny adventures. That's in knitting, crochet. I talk about my acquisitions where I purchase my yarn or tools of my craft from. So if that's of interest, please stick around. And for those who are returning, as I mentioned, thank you so much for letting me know all about what you've been working on, what projects, what you've been watching, and giving those referrals to me as well. Because when I stitch away, I do like to have something on in the background so I can listen to, or, you know, a podcast or maybe a documentary. Those things are really part of my experience here in the yarn room, or if I'm downstairs stitching away in the lounge as well. So thank you for that. I normally talk about what Hank, my man form, is wearing and what I'm wearing. Hank will be sporting my one and only finished item in a little while. I'll show you. There was a bit of a sneak peek of what it was in the intro, but I'll talk more at length on that. And what I'm wearing. So I'm wearing Stephen West's knitted pattern called the Drangey. I think it's called the Drangey. All patterns, YouTubers that I might mention, tutorials, will be listed down below in the description box. So if you want to look for more information on those things, then please do go down there and take a look. So the Drangey, I finished this, I think, in my second year of knitting and crocheting. I think it took me around possibly 3 months to knit. I used one of my favorite yarns of all time is Noro. So I had 4 balls. I think I had 4 balls of Noro. I can't quite remember what version of Noro it was, but it was one of the larger kind of donut ones. And I knew I wouldn't have enough for the Drangey, so I added in some like turquoise blue here from another yarn, which was a wool fiber from Ice Yarns, and lo and behold, I actually did banding in between each, like 2 rows. I switched it up all the way through the arms and all the way through the body so that I could use up these balls of yarn of Noro and get through the project. So that was lucky that I did that because I had no Noro left over in the end. And the banding that I chose was an acrylic wool blend. And what I liked about separating it up was it created a bit of a barrier, I think, from I'm going to say like any moths or anything that likes to eat wool. It was a deterrent a little bit, I think, because this has survived, you know, being hung up in the cupboard or being left on a shelf, and there's been no eating of the yarn at all. So I really enjoyed doing, and it looks kind of neat. I do like it because I stretched out all that beautiful Nora that I had so I could finish the work. And I get a lot of like mentions when I wear it to work and I walk around the streets. You know, people say, where did you get your sweater from? So I'm always happy to let them know that it was with my favorite yarn that I knitted this sweater. If I was to do it again, I'd probably make it a bit smaller. The neck is the only thing that I find is in a larger size, because I do have around 4 inches of positive V's to 6 inches of positive V's, somewhere around there. And if I was to go any smaller, I think the neck, this cutoff edge here, wouldn't be comfortable. It would be quite, you know, severe. Right now it's sitting quite loose and I have enough space, but I like the sizing being oversized, about 4 to 6 inches of positive V's. The other thing that you're noticing up here is a blanket that I've put up. I wanted to show the kind of look after 3 washes, and I don't tumble dry it. I actually hang it over a clothes horse and let it dry, air dry, and it's holding up very well. These are all economic yarns, and they include Premier Basic, they include Stylecraft yarns, they include Red Hearts, Super Saver, and some ombre from Lion Brand. There's all different types of yarn here, and loops and threads as well, soft acrylic. I find that it's holding up very, very well. And as you can see, the colors are still vibrant. A lot of the bordering is a neutral color, like a brown or taupe, but all these pops of orangey pinks and purples and reds, they're still holding true to their color. A little bit appealing, but not too bad. All right, so with that, let's talk about my very first item that I finished. And the front intro probably teased it, but here it is here. It's a crocheted work using, and I don't use lace weight yarn very often, but one of the yarns in here is lace weight and the others are fingering. So here it is here. Da, da, da. It's been folded, so it's kind of a little creasy. What do you think? Kind of interesting yarn, the way that the color, this is variegated yarn, but the green version of the variegated stripes is playing out kind of soft. It's like a soft pastel kind of move drift of color, not really pulling too much. And then the purple and pink yarn, which is the fingering weight yarn, that is also doing a variegated thing, but not so severely. It's changing from pink to purple quite nicely. And my border is a mix of both yarns. Like maybe I'll do one row of the purple pink and then one row of the green colored one. Yeah, so I like it. It's my first project that it's going to be a gifted project for the holidays. So I started making my holiday gifts. So I'll put this on Hank and talk about, I think that's okay. Yeah, that's good. You can see it. And talk about what I used for my yarn and my hook size. Okay, where was the bag that I used? Here it is here. I used this bag for the project. It was a gift by Edith. I want to say thank you, Edith. I love this little bag here. It's actually quite a sizable bag. I could hold a project using 400 grams. So that could be a vest, it could be a large shawl, and this canvas bag's nice and big enough for that. It's redesign project. Absolutely like it very, very much. The yarn that I used, okay, the green one was a gifted yarn as well by, I believe this yarn came from Penny Bolton. Yeah, I had to think there for a moment. And it's this beautiful lace weight in the colorway. Oh, it has a number, but I'll give you the number. It is 21. Looks like a 6. 216. I don't know, like maybe the camera can pick that up, but that's very tiny up there. The brand is called Fabra Natura, and the collection is called Whisper Lace. It is 70% superwash and 30% silk. I like it because it was very elastic, and when I was using it, I could find that it had nice stitch definition. Even though it's variegated, you can't really sort of see the stitches so small, but it was able to get into tight spots because of that elasticity. Really like it, and so soft. So I used 1 whole donut and half a one. So they're saying here that the weight of this is 50 grams. So I probably used around maybe 70 grams of yarn out of this one. Second one was a yarn that I purchased from a European online store, and they shipped here to Canada. This one is from a German company. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, but Ralana is the company name. And then this is the collection here, trying to not get the glare from, it's Regenbogen Cosmos. And this is a 50% acrylic, 50% cotton, fingering weight yarn, 200 grams, offering up 800 meters. I use this much. So to me, it's probably half the cake. So 100 grams, 400 meters. Beautiful pinks and purples, variegated as I mentioned. And what else do I have here to show you? I used a 4mm crochet hook. That was my Susan Bates with a bamboo handle. Absolutely love that hook. And that's it. I did use a little bit at the start here when I was playing around with the yarn, with the purple and pink variegated cake. I held Premier Trinket yarn with it. I didn't really like the results, but I left it in there so I could see how it played up with another variegated yarn. And this is to be held with a yarn to make it give a false sense of tweed. And I like the idea of it. It just didn't work well with this yarn base. And I wanted to leave that in there for a bit of a like a visual reference to how it would work with the variegated. So we'll probably use this with another yarn in the future. A little bit of my process when I was working on this. It wasn't to a pattern. It was just me wanting to play with different stitches. So it was like a stitch sampler. And the idea behind it was I wanted to see whether I could keep the straight line on top and keep everything flush. And I managed to achieve it with some, what is it when you kind of like do some fendangling? I don't know what it is. It's like, you know, you don't really follow the rule all the time. You kind of break it so that you could keep it always flush and straight, and like a spine line that will be kind of like, you know, in the same place, because stitches and groups of stitches sometimes don't measure up to share the same space. They sometimes are a little tighter or they're a little looser. So, you know, you fudge the stitches, I guess, so that you can get the best kind of result of a flat fabric in the end. So yeah, that's what I did. And what I noticed with the playing around of all these different stitches, I felt like the row didn't have to be all complete with the same pattern. I know that in design, when you get a design, it's nice to see the pattern go right up to the end, and it cuts the row precisely so that it's not going to create undulation or warping, whatever. Like in the fabric, you want it to lay flat and you want to have a nice seam line. But to achieve that, you know, sometimes you could actually change up the row pattern. You don't need to have it always consistently blocked out into sixes. Maybe you want to do the first series going to the peak would be maybe 4, and then like groups of 4 stitches, and then maybe groups of 8 to 10 stitches. You know, you switch up like the kind of like rhythm throughout the row. It doesn't need to go all the way to the end. And that's what I discovered in this. You could get a sense of like a small rhythm happening, and then as it gets down to the point of the fabric or into the center, you could change up the volume starts to get bigger, so you kind of like are switching up stitches to, you know, give that sort of momentum in the actual design. And I did that with the edges here. I tried to actually push the patterning right to the edge, and then I discovered that it was kind of making the top part, the line, wasn't straight anymore. It was kind of like dipping, or it was like fanning up. So I thought, no, I'm going to stop it where it lays organically nice and flat, and I'll just change and make it more quieter kind of like rhythm that you're seeing throughout that row. So I switched it up a bit. I thought that was kind of an interesting way of looking at pattern design too. So yeah, I'm going to write notes on this. I was sitting with my friend Karen Miller, who came to visit last weekend in a coffee shop, and we talked about like trying up different things on the spine here to see which laid the best. My bubble row here that was going to the center, I wanted to try what happens if I get to the center and I put 2 bubbles. What happens if I just bookmark that center stitch with bubbles just on the side, but then put a double crochet to sort of clamp it down a bit so that there wasn't a big gaping hole. So all of these learns that I'm going to record in my notebook will be for later use, but this little sample test will be a present to someone. And I think it's nice enough to share with someone, even with all the little nuances and learns along the way. And I think that would make a nice present. Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to catch you up on is a Makealong that I'm hosting. And I know when you're seeing this, it's going to be in the later part of the first week of October, which means that there'll only be possibly a week or a little more than a week left, because it finishes on October 15th, 2025. So this is kind of like almost a last call to tie up those ends. You maybe, you know, set a day away to take photos of them, because you're going to share those photos with me to enter in the Mood Board Mal Summer 25. And the theme is all to do with motifs. So we're choosing motifs that mean something to us. You know, they could be from family crests, maybe have some celestial things like a moon or a star or a type of planet. Or it might be that in your hobbies, you might like to pick a motif like an inanimate object, like you like sailing, so you want to put an anchor or perhaps maybe a sailboat. Yeah, so all of these things that speak to us in a motif go into a mood board. I'll show you my one. Here it is here. I love nature walks. So me and my puppy, Pixel, we go on nature walks quite often, and we have forests around here. I really like it. Every time of the year is something new. So when I'm walking in spring, I'm seeing all the new green buds coming out, some flowers, and then all the way through summer, autumn, spring, the colors change. And so I'm picking up on my interests. So critters around in the woods or trees themselves, and I've created this mood board. So you'll take a snapshot of your mood board. Now you can do it in your notebooks like I have and cut up sort of clippings, or you could do it digitally where you are building all of this layout in your favorite software, and you send me a snapshot or a digital version to my email address. So that is urbanyarn101@gmail.com. And I've just put some like hints here on what kind of emotions I want to pick from my mood board to create into a work. And it's regal, wonder, enchantment, playful. So yeah, I really gravitated towards the fox. So when I went looking for my pattern, now you don't have to create your pattern from scratch on your own. You can go across, there's so many wonderful patterns out there to choose from that talk about motifs or that inspire you from your mood board, that give you inspiration. I chose a pattern called Into the Wild by Tania Barley. It's a paid for pattern, and all patterns YouTubers that I mentioned are in the description box below. If I have not already said that in the beginning, then I do apologize. So do go down there to take a look. So yeah, unfortunately the photograph on the front cover just shows the model wearing the jumper. You only see the top part, and then it's hidden by these trees. There are photos of it further in the pattern, but I can't show you it because it has the instructions right next to it. But you'll see it because I've come a long way. I'm housing the whole project here in this bag. It was living in another bag, but it's gotten too big now. So I've almost completed the full body, and I need a big size bag like this one. It was a gift from Edith. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And let's take a look at the project where I am, and I'll talk about the yarn. Okay, that's the back. This is the front here. There we go. I absolutely love it. There's some give in it still. When I block it, wash it and block it, it's going to grow just a little bit more. And I've tried it on. It fits me nicely with probably around 2 inches of positive ease, so 1 inch all the way around. With blocking, I'm hoping to get 2 inches of positive ease all the way around, which means it'll be 4 inches of positive ease. I absolutely love how it has turned out with the yarn color choices, as well as the different brands of yarn that I put together. Yeah, I think last time I showed you, I just finished the little bit here of the fox's head, squirt top down, and I got to about here. I've done all of this knitting in the last 2 weeks. I've been focusing on this project and also the crocheted one as well. So really happy with it. It's going to be nice and warm for the winter, and I am blocking out the time that's left over from the date of this recording. I'm setting aside 1 week for each sleeve. So 1 week for sleeve 1 and 1 week for sleeve 2. So that's what I'm planning, and hopefully I can keep up to that schedule. All right, the yarn. And then I'll talk about some alterations that I made in the pattern, as well as needle size and stuff. So the yarn that I'm using, main body color is this one here, oatmeal heathered variety color. It's called Cascade 220 Heathers. And the color is a number. It is 8011. Really nice color. The white that I've chosen as my first, I guess, if you want to call it first, but one of my contrast colors is this one here. I've lost the ball band. It's from Universal Yarns, and it's in their natural colorway. See if I can do this. My green is this Hunter Green from Cascade 220. Are you seeing the, no, there it is, that Cascade 220 Superwash. And the number, if you want, is it looks like it's 865. Maybe you can see that there in the camera. Really like this. And if I can balance that, I'll be very surprised. But it looks like, no, I can't do it. This one here, which is the orange, I over dyed a yarn myself to to get an orange. And I had this in my stash for the longest time, but I thought it was a perfect color for the fox. And originally it was a Peyton's classic wool worsted in the colorway Grey Marl, and I overdyed it. It turned out really nice to be in this great color palette. Now, when I'm seeing hunter green, I think of going out on nature walks, and when I see the orange, I think of the fox, but also when you're kind of like wearing safety colors when you're going out into the forest, you kind of want to wear orange. So this does give me the feel of being out in nature with just these color palettes that I've chosen. All right, so that is the yarn. Going back to talk about a little bit of the alterations that I did. So this rolled collar is not part of the pattern. I added that in, and the color work that I did in the 1x1 ribbing, I added the color, and that's not in the original pattern. I'm going to use this kind of edging for the sleeves as well as the waistband. So that's going to be part of the unifying of the design feature of this sweater. Because it's such a neutral color to begin with, I think the edging will be that much more tied in and give it some sort of like markers of where things are ending. So at the waistband and at the cuffs on the wrists will be a nice technique to unify the whole design. I'm using these stitch markers. I absolutely love them. They're little toques, and they were gifts from Judy. Judy has a YouTube channel here on the YouTube streets, and it's Judy's Creations in Crochet. Hi, Judy. The needle sizes I used up here was a 4.5 millimeter, and then I switched to the body work to a 5.5 millimeter, and I'm using Chargu stainless steel. This, not giving away too much of the pattern, the short rows aren't around the collar, like after you've done the collar, they're at the end of the color work. So short rows are generally what the designer uses to raise the back, so that when you are putting on a jumper, you kind of know what the front and what the back is by looking at which side is taller and which side is shorter. So the front generally has more of a dip, and the back is worked up a little higher. So this short row happens after the color work, and I use German short rows. Now, I used a tutorial for that, and I'll add it down below in the description box. However, this tutorial that I'm mentioning that I watched did not do the short rows in a round. It did short rows going back and forth on a flat piece. So when where I had issues with it was coming around to pick up the pearl short rows, but using it in the round, I discovered that when I treated my pearl short rows from the wrong side of the fabric, coming around on the outside when I was doing my picking up all of the necessary short rows, that it created a hole. And I haven't quite figured out how to do it in the round on the one side, but everything that was explained to me in the tutorial for the picking up of the knit stitch right side short row went perfectly. So yeah, I still have to learn a bit more about my short rows. The wrap and turn for me is more of a hole maker than a nice seamless kind of short row technique, and I prefer the German short rows. I just need to find out that one side, how to do it properly. It didn't matter, because what I did was I ended up pulling on some of those loose bits. No, is it this side? Yeah, it is this side. So my short rows on this side turned out beautifully. You don't get to see them at all. So I've got short rows going up here. And this side here, I did get to see them a little bit. I think it's this bit here. I do get to see them a little bit, but I had to actually pull on the excess yarn that I encountered on the pearl side, and I had to then just tie little knots to, I had an excess of about that much yarn at each point, and I had to pull that through and tie a little knot just to get feet, you know, sort of like, I don't know whether I'm making any sense, just to kind of like take up the slack, and yeah, and then somehow weave in those ends so that it sits safe and secure, that it's not going to unravel, and it just tightened up that little bit of excess yarn. All right, so that's that one. I'm hoping that I have enough time to finish it in the time frame for the Makealong. So I want to say thank you to the people who have already submitted their work. I'm blown away, as always, with the choices of motifs, as well as the clever, creative way people have interpreted it. So just a little teaser here. I've got some entries that have used filet crochet, and in the negative space, they've created their motif. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. I've used color in mine. There's also been a couple of entries as well who have chosen to do texture, where it raises and lowers, and where the raise is, that's the way that they've encapsulated their motif. And I thought that was clever too, because you're not just using color, you're actually using negative space or raised texture, and I love that. Again, I have to show for the hard work that everyone's been putting into their pieces, and when they've entered, I'm going to do a lucky one person random picked I guess draw out of a bag, and generally Chad, my husband, picks a winner, and that lucky one person will win this make. This is one of my favorite. I don't really do amigurumis, but I can't stop making this pattern. It is by Herr Wolle, and the pattern name is called Albert. I absolutely love it. It's a little stuffy that measures probably around, say 25 centimeters tall. I will ship this out to the person who is drawn out of the bag of names that have entered into the Mood Board Mal Summer Edition. So yeah, you can name him whatever you want. He doesn't need to be called Albert. It's just the pattern name is called Albert. And this little tag can come off. So if you want to wash Albert, or if you don't like this little ear tag, it screws off. So it does come off. Okay, with that, I am going to now move on to my next work. Is a sweater that I'm knitting for Chad, and it's for his birthday. He's seen it, so it's not a surprise. And it's a bit of a gift, like the gifts that people have given me, I'm making into this gift. So it's kind of like it comes through me, it comes through you guys to me, and then I process it, and then I gift it out again. So it's sort of like a circular thing that's going on here. So this is am I showing you the right side or the wrong side? Let me just check. I think that's the right side. Yep, it is. That's it there. It's a sweater called the Fjord sweater, and I'm going to give you the name of the designer. I haven't memorized it. It's Wei Chen Chan, and I got it from this book here called Arctic Knits. This was a gift from Edith. I love this book. I made a hat, which is called the fjord hat. So I've done the patterning that goes throughout the sweater yoke, and I am now on the fjord sweater. So the hat was a good way of getting a gauge and finding out what pattern that I needed to work from, what size. So in my instance here, there are 10 sizes in this pattern, and I'm doing pattern 4. Same exact number of patterns in the Into the Woods, which was my first sweater that I just showed you. That had 10 sizes as well, and I'm doing pattern number or size number 4. So last time I showed you this, I was just at the end of the 3rd band of pattern work, and I've done the 4th band now, and I've split for my body and my sleeves, and I'm just working in the round, so it will be faster going. I've done myself about 4 rows, and yeah, so not much love as much as the other sweater, but I am on my way, slowly making progress. It's a lovely knit, and I am using 4.5mm set of knitting needles. The top part here where I do actually it was 4.5 that I used for the ribbing neck part, but then when I went into just the first 16 rows, I used a smaller needle because I was needing to do short rows. And again, I've done German short rows, and I used a smaller needle so I wouldn't get any holes. Again, the German short rows are done just after the collar is finished in this pattern, so it's slightly different from where the placement is for the short rows. And those are the back short rows there. I thought it worked out nicely. You can't even see where the short rows are. You see a little bit of there's one there, I think. There's a little bit of a hole. So not too bad. Yeah, I think it goes like this. Boom, boom, boom. So those are the short rows. And I can see little holes, but not too bad. I think the wrap and turn, the holes are way bigger than that. And because I went down a needle size as well, I found that that helped with concealing where the German short rows were, as well as made it a little bit more of a tighter experience up here. So when the yarn relaxes, it's not going to relax too much here. It'll relax more here. So you aren't getting a gaping neck. In the end, you're going to get more of the stretch and the relaxation happening around in the bottom part of the yoke. So I think that's a great idea. Now in this one, I am using these stoppers, and they're avocados. They were gifted to me by a YouTuber here on the streets. Her name's Jax. Hi Jax, and her channel name is Creations by Jax. I absolutely love these happy little avocados. Okay, that's that piece. And now the yarn. Let's look at those beautiful browns that I'm using. A camely brown, and then more a burnt, I'm going to call it almost an orange brown. So these are the two here. This one has definitely a bit more orange in it, and this one is more butterscotch, yellowish kind of base. But together they create such a beautiful, this is not coming out the right color, but it's got more orange in it. This one is a mystery yarn. I don't know what it is. It was a gift by my co-worker's grandmother, who came from the UK with a large stash and was destashing. So my co-worker said, I know someone who would take that and use that yarn if you're willing to give it up. And so she said, sure, because it was becoming more of a hindrance just storing it in her place. So I received this yarn along with another one that you'll see from my co-worker's grandmother. So thank you so much. So this one is definitely a mystery yarn. I don't know what that is, but this beautiful yarn here that I hold together to get the bodied color and main color is Lana Grossa. The collection is called Puno Du. I'm probably mispronouncing that too. This was a gift from Edith as well. Edith, thank you so much for you bestowed all this wonderful, beautiful yarn and special gifts and patterns to me. I just appreciate it so much. And the color number that you're seeing here is 005. So that just has a number as well. Love that. I love that. It's so wonderfully soft. Yeah. Oh, dreamy yarn. So I got about 11 balls of this one, or 11 or 12, and I have donuts that have been kind of like wound up like this one. I've got probably around 6 of these. So I think I have enough to do the whole sweater with these two together. I'm using this color option for my brown. It's like a rusty red brown color, and it's by Knit Crate, which is no longer around, but this is Vitellana Oasis in the colorway Tuscany, and that was a gift by Karen Miller, who I'll talk about in a moment. Yes, thank you, Karen. Love this yarn, super soft. It's probably considered slightly DK-ish because of the halo, and it's a beautiful blend of different alpacas. Love it. So lovely color. And the green that I'm using is more of a blue spruce green. So I used a hunter green in the past sweater that I talked about, but this one is more of a blue spruce or spruce green. And oh, this one also came from my co-worker's grandmother, and all the way from the UK. I'm seeing here that it was selling for £2.45. So it's in UK currency. I love it. It's symphony. I can't tell you too much about it. It's mohair and wool, 50 grams. The color is a number, and it's 938. I love it. So I've used almost a full donut, and I don't think I have any more color work to do. So maybe this will be enough, 50 grams. What else can I tell you? I think that's the 3. That's it. Yeah, that's all of the work, all of the colors in this piece. And I absolutely love it. I think he will too. Chad's gonna enjoy it a lot once it's finished. All right, so that is all of the work that I'm going to show, even though I've been putting in a lot of love on other things, little bits in here and there, but not enough to show you. I'm now going to talk about what's been going on in the community here, which involves a visit, as I might have mentioned already. So if you were just sticking around here for the yarny goodies, I want to say thank you. If you need to get on with your busy day, I'll see you in the next episode. But if you want to stick around, what has been going on in the community around here? And what have I been watching on the, I guess, to stitch away to, that I can refer and recommend? So first of all, I'm going to have to say one of the highlights of September was that I was going to meet up with a dear friend, and that is Karen Miller. She came to visit me last year. I think it was hot, so I'm going to say it was around summertime, May, June, around there. And so it's been a full year since, so we had lots to catch up on. And we spent 2 days together. One day was an invitation over to our place We had met up somewhere. I think it was for lunch at Sushi. Yes, that's right. And then some time here in the dining room where we had some snacks and shared some stories. And Karen bestowed on me so many wonderful gifts. I'm going to have to do a video just on the gifts. I'll show you one or two pieces that she had gifted me, but the yarn I'll have to pull out, and we can talk about and explore and all that wonderful stuff over a series of videos, I think, because I'm looking over there, I'm seeing 4 big bags full of yarn. So yeah, we caught up, it was great, and then we sat and stitched away in a cafe on day 2. It was called Mud Sharks, our little cafe here in our neighborhood. And I really like that establishment because you don't feel pressured to move out of there. You're not sort of like frowned upon if you want to sit there for a couple of hours. We spent 2 hours in the cafe, and around us were people set up with laptops working on their things, and we were stitching away, talking about things. Actually, I was stitching on this, I might have mentioned, when Karen was here, and I not only met up again with Karen, but I met up with her daughter Kat, and absolutely love both of them. I'm so encouraged by their stories, just to get out and explore the world, you know, get out of my comfort zone every once in a while and do some things that kind of surprise you, that you might find something new in your life that you like doing, or places that you like to see. So yeah, they're my kind of people. So I wanted to send out a big heartfelt hi to them. All right, so let's see. I'll show you 2 things that was gifted to me by Karen. And this one here is a book that she had given me. I believe Karen wants me to really explore the good things about Tunisian crochet. Last time she gifted me a series of hooks, Tunisian crochet hooks. I was finding and struggling with a cheap pair that I purchased from Temu. They weren't doing such a fantastic job, but I wanted just to see whether I could do the craft with not spending too much money down to kind of like experience it. But she really felt that that was hindering my experience in getting going and learning the craft. So she supplied me last time she visited with a series of hooks, and now she's given me some inspiration on how to learn. So this is a craft book by Toni Lipsey. She has a YouTube channel here as well on the YouTube streets. And not only that, I'm getting a very personalized, inscribed Toni signed book here, which I think is brilliant. So thank you, Karen. I didn't know that you could part with this, but I'm gonna, you know, put it to good use and try some of these basic techniques. It's divided into 3 parts, this book, so it gives you the basic techniques of a handful of stitches. Then it gives you ways to use the stitches and yarn so you can incorporate different colors. I thought that was good. So that's the a separate color technique part in the book. Then it develops your skills, and it suggests patterns at the end. I think there's probably around a dozen patterns to choose from here in this book. Absolutely love it. Thank you. I'll put that there. The other thing that I received was blocking mats. Now, I like this style of blocking mat because we're talking almost, is that almost an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch in the blocking mat, so the pins don't feel like you're drilling them into the floor. You know, and they hold fast, which is great if you're wanting to get a good stretch in your fabric. Sometimes I have one set which is very, very wafer thin, and I find that sometimes it's good for blocking quite you know, subtle block, but not an aggressive block. The pins just sort of like pop out. So yeah, I like that this is a bit thicker, and it has a grid on it. I got 2 of these, so that's big enough to do baby blankets, large shawls. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much. I got 2 of those in amongst the yarn as well, which I'll keep for another video so we can look and enjoy those at a later date. All right, so moving right along, I've written some suggestions on things that I've been watching lately, and I really like this part because I give you some suggestions, you give me some suggestions, and then we end up watching our like favorite lists. Some of them I've mentioned to kind of like were slightly disappointing in the past, and that's kind of good too, because then you don't want to invest in too much time on things that you know that flop in the end, or they don't tie up the loose ends too well, or the storyline, dialogue, whatever is kind of like a bit uninspiring, maybe you could say, unentertaining, kind of boring. So steer clear of those ones. Okay, so this is one that was quite interesting. It is a Prime series. I think there's like nine. I like when they wrap up pretty quickly, and majority of these are British actors, with one which is a key component character played by an American actor called Robin Wright. And you might remember her when she was younger. She was in Princess Bride. Later down the way, she was Clara Underwood in House of Cards. A very, very strong character, female character, and she plays a similar personality as the House of Cards. She has the same haircut, so I find it very hard to kind of disassociate Claire Underwood with this role that she plays in this series. So it's called Girlfriend. Now, Girlfriend is interesting in the way that it is directed. Now, Robin Wright, she is the director, but also stars in it. And the angles that it takes is very interesting. So you'll think that you're reliving the same scene over twice, but in actual fact, the clever way that this is coming across is that you're seeing it from the perspective of a person, either Laura or, I forgot what the girlfriend's name is, Laura or Cherry? Yeah, her name's Cherry Lane, I think. Cherry Lane. So you're either seeing it from either perspective. So the first time you encounter that the story repeats, you're kind of like a little curious to why they had to say it again. Like, I've already watched this, why am I going back? But you'll notice that there's subtle differences with words, actions that happen. They get more and more drawn, differentiated, drawn over the course of the show. But at the first instance when they do it, it's a subtle word, or it's a subtle movement or placement of where people are in the room. So you might think, oh, there's inconsistency here, you know, that word was never said, or that person was not standing there, they were over here. So it's interesting because you're getting the perspective of these two characters and what plays out. So I'm gonna keep it a surprise, because there is a battle of wits, and also who is going to get the final affections of a key central character in the story. And you get the sense straight away of who that is set up to be in the first episode. So I don't want to even spoil the first episode for you, but I'll leave it at that. And are there any things to be wary of in this one? Maybe there is a little bit of foul language. Maybe there is a little bit of violence, but not overstated, I would say. Not too like in your face. It's not blood curdling. It's not like a scary slasher kind of storyline. There is sabotage, there's vandalizing, there's, you know, all the other sort of smaller unflavorable bits. But yeah, just to let you know where it stands with my rating. For you, it might be more of a no-go because you don't like those things, but you know, each their own, and I think you'll enjoy it if you give it a go. As soon as one of those things becomes too much for you, you can always turn off the TV. All right, so the next one that I have here is called Wayward, and that's also a series. It's on Netflix. It stars Toni Collette, and it is interesting because I've only seen 2 episodes so far, but I'm intrigued, and I find that if I'm not struggling or giving too much time to get into the story, then I'm invested to keep going in it. And so far, I can say I'm invested to watch the rest of the episodes. I think there might be 8 all up together. And it is also told in a way where you're almost seeing a current story, but then there's an underlying history which is filtering in slowly into the main story. So it's a coming home of a person who lived in a small town, grew up there. I think it's called Tall Pines, and then is slowly integrating back into her old society, her old ways, her old networks, and slowly things are sort of like prickly. They're kind of coming up, centering around a clinic. That's the only way that I can describe it. It's called Tall Pines, I think, Clinic, where troubled teens go, troubled adolescent children, and there's some reworking of their personalities. So it's quite a scary place. I should not laugh. I'm sure that some models of places where they're reforming young minds are really true. They do happen out there, and this is a take on perhaps maybe what goes on behind the walls. So already where we've seen in the first opening scene is a young boy escaping from the Tall Pines Clinic, and it's not a very healthy end for the guy who's trying to run away. So yeah, that's another one that I would suggest is a good watch, even though I'm only on episode 2. The other one that I'm going to say is a question mark. Maybe. I've heard good things about this, although we did finish it. It's called Thursday Murder Club, and it stars Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, and a whole other array of famous people that come into play in this. It's a retirement home, and there's been murders that have been going on, and they're investigating on how to solve the problems. There's also a cold case file that they've dug up, and they're sort of like figuring out what happened with the people and the scenario, the stories, all that sort of fun kind of Clue, Agatha Christie type thing. I would say I enjoyed it, but it didn't leave me with anything. There was no true type of emotion, long lingering factors that stayed and resonated with me after watching it. Sometimes I feel that those types of shows are good for the type of mindset that you're in. So if sometimes I like to watch something lighthearted, then I would say the Thursday Murder Club would be something I'd watch. But if I wanted to really submerge in a story, I don't think it's the right kind of show for me at that time. So yeah, with that, I think that catches you up with everything. Let me know if you've watched any of these shows, if you've enjoyed them, or if you've seen something else that you really enjoyed and stayed with you for a while. Love to hear what those titles are as well. None of these were movies. They were all kind of miniseries that I mentioned. So, you know, I'm going to say 6 to 9 episodes and you're done. Yeah, so I think that catches you up with everything. I will see you in the next video. Please stay safe and enjoy your start of October and your spooky period for Halloween. Bye for now.